It's funny that you would come from a legal background because, like, there is this, I think, belief. It's a age-old stereotype. It goes back to Shakespeare that lawyers don't have principles. You can't, like, first kill all the lawyers, right?
Right. Oh yeah.
And then you take one of our most principled politicians of all time. You take Lincoln.
Yeah.
And he's a lawyer. He makes his living as a lawyer.
Yes.
And I'm writing about him in the book that I'm doing now. He was fascinated.
Are you really?
Yeah.
I'm a huge Lincoln nerd.
Well, I'll give you a bunch of Lincoln books. In the
Good. Okay.
But Lincoln's thing, someone made that joke to him. Some kid was saying something about it, and he said he hated it. And he said, he's like, if you can't make an honest living as a lawyer, try to make an honest living not as a lawyer, right? Like try to find some other profession. And it's interesting that he gets the name Honest Abe from being a lawyer,
right?
Like, and he was principled in the way that we're talking about, which is he was like, don't go to trial on this. It's not worth like.
Oh yeah.
So he sort of develops this. I think sometimes people think being principled, insisting, being unyielding, that is like the honest, like true, courageous thing, and actually, discretion being the better part of valor.
Yes.
Like just going, hey, is this worth it? The ability to go like, this is not that important.
Right.
I'm not compromising my principles, but I don't need to prove to you in this scenario by ruining you that I'm insisting or whatever.
Oh, it's my favorite. It's my favorite thing about him, and it's a Team of Rivals, which is by far my favorite of them. Is how when he gets the nomination and then he gets the presidency, and he's the least likely to do any of this, how he brings Stanton, McClellan, Seward, all of these people into his world. Yeah. And then you have some of them actively against him, openly. Like in the
actively
paper.
undermining him, lying to him.
In the paper.
Yeah.
And they're in his cabinet.
Yeah.
And it's just incredible how he decides not to address it.
Yes.
Like with them. I just find that to be so incredible how, I forget which one it is. I don't think it was Stan, but the one that was most vocal against him and very jealous, who he knew, Abraham knew that it was him who had put it out into the paper and was doing all this stuff. And he said, he didn't even bring it up. Instead, he brought him in closer. Like made him even more important. Yeah. Like that kind of stuff is such a...
And that's what I mean about sort of, that's the sign that you got it.
Yes.
That you're like, this can't bother you.
Right.
It doesn't bother you. You don't take it personally. Yeah. You're able to still get, like, it's not like, I think people think if they're like that, they'll be a doormat or whatever.
Right.
He got what he wanted out of those people. He was almost doing it like from a Machiavellian point of view. Like he was like, I need this from this person.
Yeah.
So I don't care that they'll insult me or drag my name through the mud or whatever.
Right.
They can't harm me as long as I'm getting what I need from them in this situation. I think he took that from the sort of rough and tumble legal world that he came. I mean, imagine being... Like you're a lawyer on horseback in these small towns. I mean, like I was reading, he represented like the nasty.
Oh yeah.
How many cases do you think he represented where the client was accused of bestiality? Because it was more than one.
That's incredible.
That's how nasty his world was.
It's wild, and they did it on a circuit.
Yeah, that's ride around all with each other in the same hotels and inns and stuff.
For anybody listening, that's why they call it like the 9th Circuit, 10th Circuit, is because it was an actual geographic area that they would have a judge and attorneys with them and travel town to town and hold court.
Yes.
And so Abraham would say, I take this client, you take that client.
Sometimes he's the prosecutor, sometimes he's the defense attorney. You don't get to choose. The judge is usually the same.
Yep.
And I think what comes out of that is this sort of genius for interpersonal dynamics and understanding that people do fucking crazy things, but you can't let them wind you up. Yeah. And you just have to figure out how to get what you need from them and how to prevent this crazy situation from getting crazier. And that's like that's what makes him so uniquely suited for the most sectional conflict you can imagine, a civil war. And there's not just one civil war, but then there's a civil war in the North between, the sort of more conciliatory Democrats and Republicans. He just knows how to deal with factions, which is like a skill that almost no politician seems to be able to have anymore.
No.
wield unwieldy people.
That quiet strength.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there's also the sense of right now politicians are set up to have the quick comeback.
Yeah.
As soon as news comes out, we got to put it on Twitter. We got to have an announcement about it. Like there's no sense of distance. And I was raised, my dad's philosophy is, my dad's very diplomatic, and he's the only one really of his line is like that. Dad is very diplomatic. I have other uncles and cousins that are like bull in a china closet, and they want their way, and everybody's in the legal field.
Yeah.
I'd come in high school, I'd come to my dad with a problem, and I would be up in arms. I'm ready. And he would just go, so? And I would go, well, Dad, you don't understand. Like, and I'd keep on, and he'd go, so?
Meaning, so what?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do about it? And then he always would come down to this line. He'd always say, don't make that your Alamo. Yeah. He'd always ask me that, do you want to make that your Alamo?
Sure.
And is that the hill you want to die on?
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it was, no, you're right. But that was continually fed into me of the don't make that your Alamo.
Sure.
That really influenced a lot of the direction of my life. But I feel that is very in line with this Lincoln-esque type of mentality.
Yeah.
I see that. I see this struggle. I see this fight. Let me give it some time.
Well, what Lincoln does have an Alamo, right? The Alamo is
sure.
the country is staying together.
The biggest,
but everything else is negotiable.
Right.
Right? And that's the genius, is that sort of rigidity and the flexibility.
Yeah.
Whereas I think a lot of people just have the flexibility in that they stand for nothing.
Yes.
Right? They don't care about anything, whatever works. Like this is like Stephen A. Douglas. I don't think we because he was so eloquent in the debates, and then he's kind of like heroic after the war breaks out. He was a piece of shit. The reason we have a civil war is because he puts forth this idea of popular sovereignty, because he wants the railroad to run through Chicago.
Right.
Like that's his thing. He's like if he's flexible on effectively everything because it's good for his political career.
Yes.
And his Alamo is like, hey, if I do all this shit, I can control the course of the transcontinental railroad, and that'll make me rich, right? So he like unleashes all this chaos because he wants the railroad tracks to go. But so we have people who are too flexible on everything, and then we have people who are too rigid on everything, and they end up also getting nothing.
Yeah.
Lincoln has this sort of magical combination of like, hey, the non-negotiable here is we're keeping the Union together. And he said it gets held against him, but he says, look, if I could free all the slaves to keep the Union together, I would do it.
Right.
If I could free none of the slaves to keep the Union together, I'll do it.
Yeah.
The point is that's the main thing. And then his other main thing is he doesn't think slavery should be expanded. That's
correct.
Legally all he feels he's able to do at that moment.
Yeah.
And so when you have this sense of, okay, these are the two things that matter. These are my Alamos. I'll work with anyone for any length of time in any way to either prevent those from happening or not happening, right?
Yeah.
That and that's his, and he tries everything,
Correct.
like all the different things with every different and it works. But that's what you need, that combination.
Have you seen the movie with Daniel Day-Lewis?
Yeah,
it's incredible.
It's the best.
It's so good. I've watched it so many times.
That scene where he's banging on the table and he goes,
yeah,
to see what is before us.
Yes,
it's the
so
only
good.
thing that counts. In the book, I was like, I never quote from movies like in my books. It's just not, it doesn't feel weighty enough.
Right.
And I was like, please let that be
It's so
based
good.
on something.
Yeah.
And it's not really
It's
based
not?
on something. The part where he goes, I am the president of the United States, clothed in immense power. That is a real thing. He wrote that. That's like a real line.
Is it really?
He didn't shout it at the cabinet. He said it. But again,
I
same
get chills
thing.
thinking about it.
Oh, it's one of the greatest.
Didn't he
lines
say
in the
like
history of
Hell's
the movies.
Bells or something like that? Or what does he say? He has like some little line. And he's like, good
Tammany Hall hucksters.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Or he's like, I forgot what he says. He's
just good God, man.
Yeah, he said, I thought he was like Hell's Bells. Yeah, good God. Yeah, he has like these little lines.
Oh, that's one of the great scenes. But even there, he knows, look, you got to pass this amendment.
Yes.
Right? And basically everything, even on this side of bending the law, is legal or is on the table as long as you do the thing. Because so this ability, and that's why I love that quote so much. He's like, to see what's before you is the only thing that counts. So often in arguments, in disagreements, if you don't know like military strategists call this the center of gravity.
Yeah.
If you don't know the center of gravity of the thing, then you don't know what to go all the way on and what you can bend on.
Yes.
But you got that ability to know what's what.
Right.
Is where it all comes from.